Hello. Today we are going to talk about direct bookings. Everybody, my name is John. I do a lot of videos, create a lot of content on rentals, short-term rentals, also covering a lot more on medium-term rentals. But today the topic of this video is going to be on direct bookings. You know, why would you do direct bookings, right? So the way that we're going to start this video is we're going to start with Airbnb. Basically, I've got some presentations here I'm going to cover and some slides, with respect to direct bookings. But at the end of the day, here we are, it's 2024. I actually personally have done short-term rentals since literally 2005. So it's kind of crazy to think about, but like almost 20 years in the fall of this year, it'll be 19 years. Back then Airbnb didn't even exist, right? But now what's happened even since their founding in 2008, the internet's grown, traffic has grown. Now it's one of the, I did a presentation even years ago, and back then Airbnb was the number 66 most traffic in the world. It's probably, more so now, right? But in general, why would anyone want to do a direct booking when there's Airbnb, right? And then also other sites as well, like VRBO and Booking.com. So let's go ahead and we'll step into the presentation and I can walk you through it. Okay, so first off, if you don't already know, one thing that's interesting about Airbnb is that, if you wanted to just let's say share a space in your residence whether you are a renter or you own, you could do that, right? Everything from literally the floor in your family room if you wanted to. For the purposes of this, video and content today, we're not talking about that because this is about having a property, whether you have one property or more than one property, and you're going to list it on a direct booking site, right? So when I say direct booking, just you have your own website and you come up with a URL and you create your own website, for your property. So basically, we're covering Airbnb here, and back they were founded in 2008, and back then, they weren't much of a rival to VRBO. VRBO was pretty much the big dog in that arena. And I've actually used VRBO since about 2005. If you take a look at it, even this particular snapshot of these figures is a couple years old now. But, at the time of this presentation, Airbnb was about the number 66, the most visited site in the world, at about 70 million monthly visitors versus, the 1.66 million of HomeAway or Airbnb. I'm sorry, HomeAway or VRBO now. HomeAway is the group that owns VRBO. It used to be HomeAway. Now it's Expedia that owns VRBO and HomeAway. But in any case, as you can see, that Airbnb dwarfs them. So, and this is some snapshots of their difference. Obviously you can see something like 1.5 million visitors per month compared to something like 70 million. So the reality is why would you want to have a direct booking site when you can just go to Airbnb and get all your inquiries? Well, the answer is that, you most certainly do want a direct booking site, and there's multiple reasons for it. Number one of the biggest reasons in this day and age is Google Vacation Rentals, right? So what's happened is Google has now, obviously decided that vacation rentals and renting homes is too big of a market for them to miss out on. So what they're doing is they've created Google Vacation Rentals, and it's free to anybody who can get distribution. So, but in order to get that distribution from Google Vacation Rentals, you've got to get on a site that actually that can feed your property into Google, right? And we have got a long list, for this presentation of different vacation rental partners of Google that you can get on to do it, right? But basically, Google is number one. Number two, I would say that at least in my experience, and again, like I told you, I've been renting properties on Airbnb for a long time, going back to, I guess for me, going back to probably 2010 or 2011. I didn't really know who they were before 2011, but basically, yeah. So I've had multiple properties in many different capacities, both as an owner and also as a manager on Airbnb. So if you look at it now, Airbnb is very much a pro traveler and guest platform, meaning if something goes wrong, with a particular reservation, they almost always side with the guest, unless it's, pretty much very clearly a guest is just looking for a refund and that's it, right? So I say that because I've had many experiences which have been, I shouldn't say many, but I've had a couple experiences which have been, rather disheartening. People come in and they say that the fridge is dirty and they take these pictures, and I don't see anything wrong with the fridge, and Airbnb just lets them leave and gives them their money back, and that's it, right? So my point is that Airbnb, it's almost become almost a risk as a host. Just know that when you're accepting that Airbnb reservation, it's like, it's got to be perfect for them to go in. So it's almost become a little bit of a risk for a host to actually to certainly just be on Airbnb, but to actually do your rentals with Airbnb. Okay, so just to kind of take you a little bit, to tell you a little bit more about me before I kind of talk about these different direct booking sites, just have a little slide here for you. Okay, so real quick, I kind of use the name SoCal Rental Guy, Johnny SoCal Rental Guy. I actually have been an online entrepreneur for years, going back, 2 decades ago. I've actually launched 3 businesses up to 7 figures plus per year and beyond. And then, what happened with me is during the Great Recession of, 2008 to 2012, I actually started renting my Southern California properties. I know let's just say I did pretty well on the internet back in the early days of the internet, and was able to acquire some real estate here in Southern California. And during the time of the Great Recession, my whole mindset was, just hold on to property. So renting out those properties in Southern California on VRBO and Airbnb. And actually, that was the time that I actually even discovered Airbnb, right? So in any case, so that's me. One thing I like about doing rentals is, I don't really have like tons and tons of rentals. I just kind of try to keep it simple. I look at it like a garden and a nice little salary, right? But I like to spend time with family. I like to travel. I'm a dad, so I like to do really cool stuff outside with my son. Like traveling net shots in the Virgin Islands, and also snow skiing and hang out with family. What we're going to look at is, when choosing a direct booking site and when choosing the platform. So what happens here with respect to a direct booking site? I mean, it's really a website, right? So that's all it is. It's a website for your property. So you can go and hire a programmer and designer and create a website from WordPress if you want to. But the reality is that there's a lot of groups out there, and I'm going to go into a couple of them in this presentation, that actually specialize in doing direct booking sites. You'll get a URL, so you choose a URL, whether that's going to be a URL for a single property or a URL for multiple properties. Let's say you're going to do, I don't know. I think people that do more than 3 properties is pretty rare, but let's just say you're going to do 1 to 3 properties. You could come up with a name that is representative of the fact that you have multiple properties, right? Something about, sleeps or whatever. Or you could just do, if you're going to do a single property, you could just use the URL for a single property initially. So that's all it is. It's just a website for your property. But when you go to a platform, these platforms these days are as low as about the cheapest one I found that I know of. And again, I didn't do extensive research. I just really researched the properties that I have familiarity with, both from the influencers I follow in this space and then also from my own research over many years. But the Google list of vacation rental partners is very long. But the cheapest one that I could find is about $13 per month, right? So, I mean, if you think about it, that's, really cheap. I mean, I don't think basically that would cost you about a coffee and a pastry these days to $13. So that's about the cheapest one. And what they'll do is they'll integrate with VRBO, with Airbnb, with Booking.com, all the different sites, and they'll integrate your messaging. They'll integrate all of your, calendars and everything, and then they'll also enable you to get integrated with Google Vacation Rental Partner. When choosing a platform, the simplest thing to do is to just look at the Google Vacation Rental Partners list. It's a long list, but you can start pretty cheap with this list. You want to consider a platform that Airbnb influencers recommend. So what I mean by this is, maybe you follow me, right? or you follow some other Airbnb influencers. You want to kind of pay attention to what they say. And if you like that influencer, obviously you could just kind of go with what they do. Like, for example, one I see is the Rob Built guy on YouTube. and he is always recommending guesting, right? And then you can look at the templates for the individual properties, see if you like how they look. You want to make sure at minimum that the actual site enables clean and configuration, and it also enables guest conversations. Another important thing to cover, or reason to do a direct booking site, is the why, right? So why do it? Now, I did tell you in the beginning that I see it as a risk. That's just my personal experience. I mean, there are, certainly, a lot of people that swear by Airbnb. But even those that I found, even the influencers that I follow that swear by Airbnb, have had some pretty rough experiences with Airbnb, meaning like they shut down parties, so they blocked reservations because they came in for 3 nights or various things. But what I initially said at the beginning of this video was, I said that it's a risk. I saw it as just doing Airbnb exclusively is a risk. And if you're going to be doing a lot of stays with Airbnb, it's a risk. And I described why it's a risk. In my opinion, I've had some experiences where people like walk in and they don't like the fridge, and Airbnb just lets them leave and gives them their money back. I see that as a risk. But number 2, it's also money. So basically, with respect to Airbnb, and even VRBO for that matter, I mean, VRBO's got their fees, right? But Airbnb is right now in the neighborhood of basically 3% to 14% that they're going to charge. So Airbnb, when they send you money, they're going to send you your money, which is your payout, less a 3% transaction fee, right? And then before the 3% transaction fee, there's going to be a service fee that you pay. Those guests pay a service fee. So all the fees in total are anywhere from 3 to 14%. And at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, of course, Airbnb provides a lot. You go and you get a property, you get it going, you get it up on Airbnb, and you get free leads, right? They're totally free leads. You don't pay until somebody books a reservation. In a sense, it's a great business opportunity, but at the same time, it does cost a lot, right? So when you're looking at 3 to 14%, the actual guests see this too. So there's a lot of guests that, might have an interest in saving that sort of money. Like, for example, I just got a reservation. It's like a couple nights, like I think 6 nights or 1 week at one of my places. And it's about, a service fee of over $300. So that's over $300 that the guest has to pay outside of the actual, rent for the rate for the rent, and then also the cleaning fee, right? So, that adds up, and people are interested in saving. So, if you have a scenario where, people come to you directly, and they can save that 3 to 14%, they're going to be interested in saving that. Okay, so for the purposes of this video today and this content, I'm going to actually use a direct platform, a direct site, booking site platform called Lodgify. So I've heard of Lodgify for years and years. I did research over many years of all these different sites to use outside of Airbnb and VRBO. Because my thinking has always been, the more sites that I'm on, the better. I have a few places, that I rent out, but in general, I do have one particular place, which is like a really unique, place in Southern California. That's a house, right? And with that house, I mean, I want to have it on all these different sites. I mean, I think there was one site that I had it on years ago called Wimdu, and never even heard of it. And I ended up getting, a couple bookings from it. My thinking was always, unless there's absolutely zero traffic for the site, I want to be on as many as I can be on. Because if you think about the value equation, you get one booking for multiple thousands of dollars, and obviously it makes sense. And again, a lot of these sites you don't have to pay to be on, right? So, like for example, there's the vacation site or TripAdvisor is called FlipKeep. I've even gotten some bookings from them. But just like Airbnb, you don't pay to go on, right? You go on for free, and then they collect their money through their through their service fees. But same thing with, for example, the FlipKey is the vacation rental site for TripAdvisor. So there's lots of different sites that you could be on besides just Airbnb and VRBO. But over the years, I did a lot of research about places that you can go where you can actually create your own site, and Lodgify is one that I kind of identified as it looked pretty attractive, and it could support you as a host as you grow, and it's pretty cheap. Some of the other sites that I'll talk about today, not sites but platforms that can give you a direct booking, are Guesty. Like I said, one of the influencers I follow, who's Rob Built on YouTube. He talks about Guesty a lot, and then also he's talked about a place called Boostly, which is out of the UK. And then the other one that I have heard other influencers talk about is called Hospitable. But for the presentation today, we're going to take a look at Lodgify. So part of this slide, I just kind of talk about doing medium-term rentals. And one thing that that has been really meaningful for me is doing the more medium-term rentals. So when people write in and they want to stay for longer than 30 nights, I always really focus on those because it's a great opportunity to kind of really fill a lot of what would be otherwise potentially vacancy, right? And when that happens is, let's say, it's usually in between, let's say, November and May. Really, I mean, at some point in October, it gets a little quiet, and then things usually, at least, in the Sun Belt, right, here in Southern California, and in the Sun Belt of the U.S., it's usually pretty busy for everybody around April, end of April, or at some point in May until at some point in October, right? So that just means that from October to April or May, it's going to be certainly a slower time. Going after the 30-day rentals or 30 days or longer rentals, the medium-term stays is a much, I shouldn't say much, it's an appealing route to consider, right? So here's their site, and as you can see, these are the templates, right? So, use a company called ClickFunnels for some of my, non-real estate initiatives, internet initiatives, and it's like templates, right? It's just a lot easier for you to build your own site. And then typically what goes with it is you pay a monthly fee, right? So as you can see, like these are the templates that you would select. So you say preview, and this is your rustic retreat. So they got templates and they got your pictures, and then you would just put your stuff in. So that's exactly how the website for your property would look. And that's kind of, what's attractive about templates. You don't have to, hire a programmer to like create it and then do all this design and stuff. They've got, templates that are already kind of, set out. So as you can imagine, it's pretty attractive to be able to take these, incredibly attractive templates and go from there. So then here you go. So here is the actual pricing. So the pricing, as you can see, $13 as a starter, and that's for, and then you also will pay a 1.9% booking fee, and that's for, actually that's 1 to 5 properties. So that starter of $13 a month is 1 to 5 properties. It's pretty attractive. Let's just say you get up and running with Lodgify, or if you like Guesty or you like Hospitable, you get up and running with them. So what do you do now? Well, you've got to create some content for your site. So you got to get seen. And the concept of creating, content, your thought might be, oh wow, like got this one house and I'm just going to go create content and I'm going to get visitors. Well, yeah, that might take some time. So one thing that I would say is that you could do some reach out to temporary housing groups, and that could be a way to do that also is you can create a listing on Zillow. So if you create a listing on Zillow and select 30 days as that minimum time frame, and the reality is you don't actually have to take any of the people that reach out to you from Zillow, because you're basically taking your Airbnb listing and you're copying it to Zillow, right? And Craigslist too, for that matter. But you're probably going to see more action from Zillow because the temporary housing groups and insurance companies. So most of the relocation companies have found me through the Zillow listing. So again, you don't have to actually take any of the bookings from Zillow, but that's how these relocation companies can find you. You can also, once they start contacting you and you figure out their names, you can actually go to LinkedIn and you can find companies that are similar to them to do that. Another place you can go is Furnish Finders. Again, I'm saying this because anybody who is going to be doing rentals, have a rentals business, is going to, it's going to be very wise to consider doing 30 night rentals or longer during the time frame of, let's say, October to May. It just is what it is. It's a great way to fill your calendar, and it's from the perspective of actually just doing less turnover and higher revenue. It's very attractive, right? So Furnish Finders really launched as more like the medical field, right? So the medical field is a great way to get people that want to come in for projects that are anywhere from like a month to 3 months. So Furnish Finders is another site. Furnish Finders does not have really like that much traffic. You're not going to see nearly as many inquiries from Furnish Finders as you will from Zillow. Actually, they might be. Well, Zillow will be a little bit more, right? But in any case, you'll start discovering who these companies are from Furnish Finders as well as from Zillow, and then you can go into LinkedIn and you can actually search, by the company. Companies that are similar to that particular relocation company, and then you can start submitting your property on the websites of each of these relocation companies. Okay, so back to the actual content for your site. So, some of the things that you can do in terms of creating content is going to be basically blogs and vlogs, right? So blogs is, really quite simply, you just create articles that are text-based. You can also include a video in it, and then you do a text-based article. You could have a blog section for your direct, your direct property site, and then you could write articles, right? And then you could also do a vlog. And the cool thing about a vlog is you could, whatever your vlog is, whatever your video content is, you could then put that video content on the social media platforms, and then also put that same video content, on your site. And then one of the last items, but certainly not the least, in fact, is probably the highest ROI, is actually email marketing. And what's so excellent about having a direct booking site is that you can actually start an email list. You could start and then build an email list and then create a newsletter for your property or your property's business, right? And what is interesting about this, and potentially the most interesting thing, is that when you are on, let's say, just Airbnb and VRBO and all the different sites, there's no way for you to get the emails of people that don't book. You will get the email addresses of people that book your property, but you won't get the email addresses of people that don't book your property. So when you have a direct booking site, you could just have a section where they submit the email, and people, they like your place, they'll give you their email, and you could keep in touch with them. In fact, that's one thing I've done. I've done email marketing in various ways for many, many, many years, and even do that now. I've actually keep growing and growing my list, and that's one thing that I do is I send an email. In fact, as you do content for your properties business, let's say you do, one sort of short video a day. Right after that short video, you could actually send an email to your list. You could do that every day if you want, or you could do it, just a couple times a week. But, you certainly want to be doing it, at least a couple times a week. Email marketing is the internet marketing channel that still, after all these years, delivers the highest ROI to all businesses. And we're talking about businesses that do, let's say, over $100 million, dollars a year, in terms of internet businesses, right? So the top two are email and SEO. So the point is that you can drive a lot of sales with email follow-up. So basically, in conclusion, everybody, that is everything related to a direct booking site. And there's multiple places that you can use. What I'll do is I'm going to do a part 2, and I actually am in the midst of doing this myself. So once I actually have my place on Lodgify, I'll do another video and show it to you. Start off and initiate your direct booking site. What you can think about is you can still just do it independently, right? So for years, I would just, you could just put your listings on Craigslist, and if people contact you from Craigslist, they could just send you a PayPal or send you a Zelle or send you a Venmo. And then you could have, your basic agreement. I have done agreements. I still do agreements, to this day, even with people from Airbnb. That's kind of different. I have different reasons for it, mainly because of it's a house and I've got a deck off of the kitchen. I also have propane for a spa, and I have to have certain, parameters that are met for that, right? I want to have guests abide by certain rules, so I have that in agreement. And then also in the agreement, you actually have all of your financial details. So, you don't need to set up a direct booking site like ASAP right away before you actually launch your site. You could do it as you start to launch your business, because you can technically, really, doing a direct booking is like them just giving you money directly, right? And that can be done through, for example, just a Craigslist posting, and then you do an agreement, and then they actually send you the money. So don't feel like you've got to go rush and do it before you do an Airbnb. You can launch your Airbnb, launch your VRBO, get things going, and then you can roll out your direct booking site. So in conclusion, there you go, guys. That is the content for today on direct booking. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put a comment in this video, or you can email me. It's socalrentalguy@gmail.com. And then other than that, I'll have some links in this video. Like if you have any questions, or I'm actually considering doing like a kind of like a monthly mastermind thing, or a monthly call with people. But in addition to that, if you want some of my agreements or some of my templates that I've used for years, just contact me by leaving a comment, and I'll have my email in the description of the video and ways for you to contact me. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content that I put out, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click on the alerts bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Also, you can click in the description area and you can see different links, like social media links and different other links that you can go to, where you can see about the different services and products that we have. Also, feel free to reach out to me if you'd like. You can find me at email socalrentalguy@gmail.com. Okay, thank you, and let me know if you have any questions, and have a great one.